Hello, my name is Anakin and welcome to day, I think it's day 69 of the lockdown diaries. I live in the southwest of England in Cornwall, and as you can see the weather is gorgeous here today. I've been sitting in the garden all afternoon and I've got the house to myself at the moment, so I was going to pop up to my office to record a very quick video, and then I thought no, let's just do it here in the garden, which is why I'm wearing my sunglasses. I did put my glasses on, but the sun's shining straight at me and it was just too bright, so apologies for keeping my sunglasses on. So I'm just sitting in the garden knitting. I cast on for a new pair of socks yesterday. I finished, let me go back a step, I finished my Sava flower shawl, which I cast on a couple of weeks ago I think. That's what it looks like. I haven't blocked it yet. I was going to block it this afternoon, but we want to eat at the dinner table tonight because of what we're having, and that's where I need to block it. So I'm not going to block it till after we've had dinner, as long as I'm not too tired to block it by then. I'm hoping I will block it tonight. So I really need to I'd really like to get the pattern off to my tech editor on Tuesday. Tomorrow is a bank holiday here in the UK, so we've got a day off. Doesn't mean that much when you're not allowed to go very far. We are allowed to go out, so the current situation is we are allowed to go out on a day trip. We're allowed to go to the beach, we're allowed to go to the malls, we're allowed to go to seaside towns, as long as we can socially distance. So as long as you can keep that 2-meter distance between you and other people who are not in your household. And you're not allowed to meet up with any other friends except for one person. You're allowed to meet up with one person who doesn't live with you in a public space, but you've got to keep a 2-meter distance. I think a lot of people are starting to break that rule at the moment. Yesterday we went down to a local beach for a walk. It's a very popular it's a very popular beach for walking the dog, so we went down in the evening and I actually forgot to film anything. I took a couple of photos, but I forgot to take any video footage. And we saw some people walking, which is fine. They were in couples, so I assume they were living together. But we also saw some people fishing. There were 2 groups of 3 fishermen. Now, the 3 men may have been living together. 2 of them might have been living together and the 3rd one didn't. So it's basically 2 groups of 3, quite a few meters apart. But the 3 in each group were less than 2 meters apart. And looking at their ages, I'm not sure they were living together. They might have been, who knows. But I've got a feeling there might have been a bit of rule breaking going on there. So yeah, I think things are starting to unravel slowly here in the UK as far as the lockdown rules are concerned. Schools are due to open for certain year groups in a week's time. I believe the coming week is half-term week here in the UK, school holiday week. Once your kids leave school, you very quickly forget about when the school holidays are, I've discovered. I believe this coming week is school holiday week here in England at least. And then at the end of that, a lot of kids from certain year groups are apparently supposed to be going back to school. There's a lot of parents who are not happy to send their kids back to school. A lot of schools are saying they can't take all the kids in those year group backs because they have to have reduced class sizes and that kind of thing. So I don't know, we'll see. I did just watch the government press conference. They do a daily briefing here, and they were asked whether shops were due to open on June 1st as well, and they didn't confirm that, but they did kind of hint at that shops might be opening soon and there might be more loosening of the social restrictions coming soon, which seems strange to me because they're introducing a quarantine for people arriving from outside the UK who are arriving into the UK. They're introducing a 2-week quarantine from June the 8th. So just as they're starting to release lockdown restrictions in the UK, they're making people coming into the UK go into quarantine for 2 weeks. at a private address, I believe. I'm not sure if you're allowed to quarantine in a hotel or not. So I don't know. I find it very confusing. But let's get back to talking about knitting. So I finished this shawl. I was hoping to finish it this weekend. I actually finished it on Friday evening, I think, which I wasn't really expecting to do. I also finished either Friday evening or Saturday morning. I can't remember now. It's only Sunday afternoon. I can't remember. I also finished a pair of socks I was knitting for Emily. A pair of blue cotton wool socks that have been in my whip basket for, I would say, probably at least 2 years, possibly longer than that. I can't remember starting them. I was knitting them 2 at a time, and that's probably the reason they got stuck as a UFO or unfinished object, because I don't really like knitting socks 2 at a time. So I found them earlier in the year when I was clearing out all my projects, and I put them to one side, and I decided when I finished my previous socks that I would just finish them, because Emily wanted a pair of socks anyway, and I'd done 40 rounds on each sock, so I thought I might as well finish those. The yarn, I can't remember the brand, but it's a cotton wool blend, which I don't really like that much knitting with, but it was okay. Finished them. I will add a photo to the end of this video if I remember. I actually gave them straight to Emily after taking photos, and I couldn't find them, so I can't show them to you, but I'm quite glad to finish them. They were my 9th pair of socks for this year, so my goal for 2020 is to knit 20 pairs of socks, and that was pair number 9. So this is pair number 10. I felt that as I just knitted Emily a pair of socks, I should knit Vanessa, my other daughter, a pair of socks. So I asked her last week to choose this ball of sock yarn. She chose this one, which is Opal. It's been in my stash for a long time. I'm not quite sure how long, but a long time. Years probably. So I cast those on yesterday. After I finished the shawl and then finished Emily's socks, I wasn't quite sure what to cast on next. I do have plans for a sweater for myself, knitted in Shopwell 6 carat. I also am waiting for some new yarn from my wholesaler that I want to knit up a new shawl design in. I was hoping that would get here last week, but it hasn't, so I'm hoping it'll be here this week. I'm also waiting for yarn for a design that's due in 2 weeks. That hasn't arrived yet, which I'm getting in a little bit of a worry about. So as soon as that yarn arrives, I really need to crack on with that. And then I got another deadline for a sweater at the end of June, which hopefully yarn will be here in the next week or so, and I also need to crack on with that, because there is a chance I may get another design commission before the end of the month. So I may have 2 deadlines at the end of June, so we'll see. So I wasn't sure to cast them for something else yet or not. So yesterday I just cast them for the sock. I started knitting on that, and I did about half the foot, and then this morning I actually decided to start knitting a swatch for the sweater that I want to knit for myself. So it'll be a new pattern, but the sweater will be knitted in my size. So I cast on for that for the swatch this morning, and I've spent most of this morning knitting on that swatch. I've knitted quite a big swatch. I was hoping it would have finished blocking and I could have showed it to you, but it's still blocking, so it's still slightly damp. So I will probably do a separate video on that and tell you a bit more about the design process and some of the ins and outs of designing garments with lace. So I decided this afternoon to knit on these socks. I've been sitting in the garden knitting on these socks. I put in the waist jump for the afterfoot heel, and then I've done about 20 rounds or so on the leg. So there is a chance I may actually finish this off tonight. We'll see. But I'm hoping tomorrow morning I will actually spend an hour in the office and write up the pattern for the sweater and get that on the needles tomorrow. So that's my plan. It's a day off here tomorrow, so depending on what we decide to do, I'm not very keen on going out somewhere where there could be a lot of people, but we might go off for a walk on the moors or something like that, especially if the weather's nice. You can find places on the moors that aren't very busy, so that shouldn't be a problem. So we might do that, but if not, I might spend an hour working and just write up the pattern for that sweater so I can get that on the needles. Anyway, I hope you're having a lovely weekend. I hope it's as lovely where you are as it is here.